Wildcats Revenge is the new for 2023 RMC hybrid coaster at Hersheypark, and I was able to get 5 rides on this amazing coaster back in August. And today, I'm going to talk about if it lives up to all the hype that it gets. Wildcat was the first ever GCI coaster, and from what I hear, it was crazy, smooth, and ran very fast through its layout when it first opened. It also opened with PTC 2 bench trains, which over the years, it started to get really rough. And I actually got to ride it in its last full operating year in 2021. I remember my mom thinking it was terrible and me just thinking it was okay but still really rough. But then at the same time, I was also a GP back then. As the years went on, people started to speculate a full RMC conversion, and a lot of people disagreed because it was the first GCI coaster, but Hersheypark owned the coasters. They could do whatever they wanted with it. Eventually, on November 2nd, 2022, Hersheypark announced that Wildcats Revenge would be the name for the hybrid conversion of Wildcat, and the whole coaster community went crazy that day. We had been waiting for this for around 10 years and it finally happened. Wildcats Revenge is the first RMC to run 3 trains without a mid-course brake run. That's because of a separate load and unload station. And speaking of these trains, they look amazing. They're actually my favorite RMC trains because they each have different colored cats pouncing out of the lead car. But now let's get into the layout. First you start with a triple down out of the station, and in the back, this is a really good moment to warm you up for the rest of the ride. Then you start to ascend the 140-foot tall lift hill. I might be the only person who thinks this, but when RMC lift hills are this steep, they can be kind of uncomfortable on your neck because there's nothing holding it up. It's definitely a little worse on this one than Iron Gwazi because it takes a little longer to get all the way up, and that's because you have to wait for the train on the brake run. But with that small issue out of the way, let's get into the drop. And this drop is amazing because it's 82 degrees, and in the back, you just completely get pulled down. These RMC drops are always amazing. After an intense valley, you go through the most marketable element on the coaster, which is the world's tallest step-up underflip. It has good hang time, but it's not the best element on the ride or anything. But this next element might be. It's definitely the most sustained airtime moment on the ride. It's this giant camelback that goes under the stall. And it's also really strong too. I love this element so much, and even as a crazy hand chopper with the stall that I mentioned. Then you go into an element similar to Iron Gwazi's finale, which is a twisted double up giving great ejector airtime. And then you reach your first wave turn. And if you know anything about me, you know I love sideways airtime and wave turns. And this one is no different. And not to mention, the airtime is also way stronger towards the back, which just adds to how much better this coaster is in the back. After that, you drop back down to the ground and go through your second inversion, which is a sustained 0G stall. I've only ever been on Iron Gwazi's stall, so this is a major step up with some good hang time. Then you have your second and better wave turn. This is another contender for the best element on the ride because it's easily the strongest airtime moment. And keep in mind, you're turned 90 degrees on your side. And here's the third and final contender for the best element on the ride. Only this one, I'm probably the most confident in. It's this twisted but also unbanked double down. Take the first camelback, the huge one, but make it a double down with 2 ejector pops and also make it turn to the left at the same time. This is a really world-class element and it deserves to be talked about more than it is. Then you finish your first half and you officially enter the second half. The third inversion is a very snappy 0G roll, which will be a common trend for the rest of the ride at this point. You then go through a snappy overbank, followed by another 0G roll, only unlike the first one, you are gracefully floating out of your seat. Then there's a little off-axis hill giving a good floater pop leading you right into the finale, starting with a very snappy twisted hill with strong ejector airtime. It goes good with some of the more straight airtime moments earlier in the ride. And there's one more hop up into the brakes giving another ejector pop until you reach the part where it abruptly jerks you to the right as it turns to the left. With RMC's trains not having the best lateral bracing for abrupt moments like this, it can be a little bit uncomfortable in rows toward the front, because it's almost like headbanging but for your shoulders. But it really doesn't impact the rest of the ride for me. So overall, Wildcats Revenge is a really amazing coaster with no dead spots. It has strong airtime, easily being stronger than anything on Steel Vengeance and Power, with the airtime strength being almost Iron Gwazi level, which is nothing small. So my final answer is no. Wildcats Revenge did not live up to the hype. It exceeded all of the hype. This coaster ended up being better than I think anyone expected. So that's why I will be giving the new best coaster at Hersheypark a perfect 10 out of 10. I can't believe this ended up ranking above Steel Vengeance, which is one of the best RMCs in the world. And it lands in my number 3 spot in my overall coaster rankings. And anyone and everyone has to get out and ride this. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next video.